Two-time Academy Award-winning director Ang Lee has become one of cinema's most renowned auteurs by making films that defy convention and push the boundaries of the medium. Lee revisited his boyhood dreams while making Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and simultaneously reinvented the martial arts genre to worldwide acclaim. In this intimate conversation with the celebrated director, Tasha Robinson explores the enduring legacy of the film and the place it plays in Lee's stellar career.
So Crouching Tiger was taken from the fourth book of a Chinese series of books. I'm curious how you ran across them, why you wanted to adapt this particular story.
It was years before I actually did it, like 4 or 5 years. In my second movie, or the first movie, I don't quite remember, a friend of mine mentioned I should do a martial art film. And I guess for a Chinese boy, everybody has a martial art film in their mind. So I kept that in mind. I said, what? You know, I read quite a bunch of them. Those are the pulpy fictions of our versions, the pulpy culture. They're not about reality, but it's somehow about truth. It's fascinating, like most of the pulp fiction is a hidden pleasure. Not only that, it's expression of the repressed society where I grew up from. So that was always haunting, and he introduced me this series. So I wrote all 5 of them, and I thought the fourth one is kind of a movie, even though I know I want to change a lot. So like many action movies here, only specific director get to do them. The artistic director don't get to practice. Not that they don't want to. They don't really have a chance. In our industry, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and in China as well, I think people like me will never make martial art films. No, it's the choreographers. They get the chance to direct those movies. If you want to, you leave those sections to them. But I thought in order to do something that's close to my dreams, I need to accumulate my clouds, so to speak. So I figured after Sense Sensibility, I started to think maybe one more Western movie, I'd go back and fulfill the dreams. So they're actually incubating me for 4 or 5 years before I get to carry out, just so I can actually participate in the holistic way, the organic way to make a martial art film the way I want it.
So, I mean, did you think of the movies that you made along the path as steps? I mean, was there like an actual grand plan that you were working towards this film?
I didn't plan it that way, but it turns out to be that's quite true. I think this genre is particularly difficult, I think, to adapt. You need to have good movie sense, you have a sense of production, and action as well. So I did one movie before that as action. That was my first experience with action. That was a Civil War movie, boys on horseback with guns. That was my first action experience. I think it took me 2 weeks to get it. I was pretty quick in learning filmmaking. But I say martial art scenes with great choreographer, no. It still take me at least 2 months just to get a feeling of it. It is quite a skill. It's not easy.
So you said that when you settled on this book that you wanted to adapt, you knew you would have to change a lot. What was that adaptation process like? What did you cut? What were you thinking when you were putting it together?
You know, the pulpy fiction that was used to be a series on newspaper. They run on like a column. It will go on for 5 years. So there's a lot of inconsistency, uneven. Sometimes you get 2 weeks of brilliant stuff, and then another month, you don't know what it is. So to make a 2-hour movie, you need unity, you need dramatic structure and storytelling structure. And also, I have my pleasure in certain ways. I have myself into Mu Bai's character. There's certain woman's character that attracts me. Like in the book, Mu Bai didn't die, and well, it wasn't there.
So what was the process like working with James Schamus? Like, was there a point where you turned all of this over to him and said, here's what I want? Or was there a lot of back and forth on the script?
Back then, he's not only my writer, he's my producer too, and salesman. So we got to get 12 million back then. There was no Chinese film taking that kind of budget. So it was unusual. We need international help. So we need some kind of script form. That's where you hear James said that all the fighting scenes, they fight. And there was a note on the cover page, just trust me, Anne will do the most brilliant fighting scenes in the history of cinema.
管得着吗？
在下李慕白，清明剑是我的剑。
I think the fighting sequences are storytelling themselves and had dramatic conflict and all that. It's kind of a physical conversation. I think they're terribly important to be dramatic. They're not action sequences, they're dramatic scenes. It accentuate the point that people want to make, and also the weight that you're visually giving people add on to the drama later on, the verbal drama. So to me, it's one thing. I said people like me, it's very hard to engage. Usually you give the fighting scenes to the choreographer. You tell them who they fight. Basically, you tell them they fight, who win, who lose. What's the consequences? Give me 4 minutes. It's their job. You'll be lucky if you're even allowed to watch when it happens. But I want to participate. I want to dramatize. I want to add performance onto the fighting sequences and dialogue and so on and so forth. To me, it's performance. It's actually quite unusual because when you add drama and performance onto action sequence, it's kind of dangerous for actors because it's much safer if they just count the beat and make sure they don't get hit or poked in the eyes or anything. When they think about performance, genuine performance, you might mess them up. Bad things could happen. So that's why they're not recommend to do that, but I want both. So I have to be there, participate in a design. Something look good might not correct for dramatic needs or fit for the character or their relationship development. So I had to participate. So the choreography express the character development and all that. No, it just make a mess of production, make it very, quite impossible for everyone. And also I don't have, other than Michelle Yeoh, I have actors, not action stars to do those acts. So it's just very difficult, very unconventional for someone like me to engage.
Chow Yun-fat, at the time that this was made, had basically done gangster films. He wasn't a martial artist, like he wasn't interested in fantasy movies or historical epics. He'd deliberately avoided that. Why did you think of him?
No, it's cool to do all the gun shootings. I think he hates guns. Like, he happens to be that handsome guy and look cool and happens to be a great actor. And I don't think he ever shaved his head either for that Qing Dynasty look. Have a ponytail in the back. I didn't even know what he would look like. It was quite a risk to put him in an ancient outfit, do a period piece. I don't think he has ever done that. He took the risk. And also, he wasn't that young anymore, not heartthrob anymore. And he's very much into acting. He wants to do quality projects, whatever that is. And I'm so glad I had him because not only he's a great actor, what he established is very much like Li Mu Bai, that status, that disposition, the way he carried himself, the understanding of the burden of a popular wuxia, somebody who's prominent and you're obliged to certain morality code and all that, and social responsibility. And he's tired, he's thinking about retirement and about the excitement of Zhang Hu, the storytelling, getting him excited and leading him to his death. It's very much like him. It's a parallel to his career. And he has the charisma, he has the social responsibility, people look up to him. Like it reminds me something like Clint Eastwood did Unforgiven. It's not just his acting, what he'd done before, already done something for the screen. It's like a contract to the audience. Whether you work with it or work against it, you already have something that just a sheer good actor won't be able to offer. It's just the way he is. That's the way he's built. Not only himself, the confidence, the charisma, the disposition, his understanding of the world, but how people understand him. So I sort of just take it. The biggest Asian movie star, and I shoot him forward, backward, hang him upside down, whatever, he'll just do it. So that's like a dream.
What about Zhang Ziyi? She hadn't had much experience. She wasn't a martial artist. She was a dancer, and you didn't have that huge body of work to draw on, where you could see the parallels. What made you think of her for this role?
I didn't know.
Oh.
Took a wild guess, took a risk. Well, that was her second movie. She was in a Zhang Yimou movie. He recommended her to me. So she's in drama school. She had been in one movie, but still pretty fresh. Yeah, it took a while, a month training, a couple months training, and then 1 month shooting just to realize what I have in my hands. Yeah, it's a little hair-raising. But no, 2 months, it's a 5-month shoot. 2 months into the shoot, I told her, you better start learning English. You might go somewhere, you might need it someday. The thing about her is that her acting was still pretty fresh at the time, but it's like all newcomers, their innocence is the biggest sell. If you can put that in your screen, it's gold. You cannot act. The innocence, the effort, the trying to give you what you want itself is compelling. And after a few movies, they have to act. Before that, just do what you tell them to do already is, it grabs your heart. But also she is, I would say, just about the easiest face to photograph. It's very photogenic. You see her, you know it, the camera test, you know you can do a lot of things with her. Sometimes movie acting is not all about acting or skills. It has something to do with look too, and how that look inspire the audience to project themselves onto the character, the image, when they move. So eventually is the audience acting. You can never be as good as how audience imagine themselves doing it. So I think Zhang Ziyi has that thing. We call it photogenic. I can smell it, I can see it, but still it's kind of a guess, educated guess. It's a risk. I'm glad how it turned out. But in a few months into it, when her fighting skill and acting, when she started to feel a little bit more comfortable, I feel more relaxed too.
明日拔巨刀锋。
What about Michelle Yeoh? She's so much my favorite part of this film. She just, like everything she does, she just brings this combination of fearlessness and integrity, I guess would be the word for it. How did you end up with her in this film? What were you looking for?
Of course, I watched Michelle's, a lot of her movies in the 80s and 90s mainly. The movie I watched her was always action flicks. That's one part when I wrote the script. I had her in mind. Somebody been there, done that, but has a side of her you don't know.
Fantastic.
You haven't even scratched the surface yet. I just have a feeling that was even before I knew her. Just the way she is, the way she was educated, her life experience, how her career goes. I know there's a volcano underneath it. It's a volcano of desire to perform, to cry, to act her heart out. I have a feeling all her life is built towards this movie. That's my selfish thinking, wishful thinking rather. I think she's built for this part, all her career and all her been. I knew she would give everything she has. The heartbreaking part is that she's the only one who's the action stars, who proved to be an actress. And the first week of shooting, she broke her knee.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We had to send her back to the States and do a knee surgery, and then she was in brace. So the whole movie, she was shooting with brace on.
Was it a stunt gone wrong?
Yeah, it was an action sequence. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. They put on her on a bar stool and finished shooting the scene. Spent another hour to the upper body fighting. They were that tough. She was not a natural Mandarin speaker, and that was her biggest acting part. She's been waiting and preparing for the days, and she broke her knees. So she was in all kinds of, carrying all the burdens, and carrying all the disadvantage. The character not necessarily has the most screen time, but carry the emotion curve was actually her. She has to carry the movie, even she doesn't get to do all the crazy stunts and naughty stuff like Zhang Ziyi does. Zhang Ziyi and Chow Yun-fat, they were there to steal the show, and she has to carry the movie. It's a lot of burden on her. Yu Shu Lien cried and went through her repression or her emotion. It was pretty real for Michelle. And I remember in the scene when Chow Yun-fat died, when she was in her arm, when she cried, I had to go out and cry, hide myself, because I could feel how she felt, those tears.
And then did you go back and
Real.
take that scene 8 more times, or did you say, if I cried, we're done?
4 takes. Take 3 was perfect, and take 4 was even better, and then I had to call it stop, and that was it. That's all I could take. And then I walk off for 15 minutes, and I just secretly cried.
There's so many things in the script that like a Western viewer isn't going to get, like the symbolism of the names or the symbolism that you used with the color
Right.
green. Like, how were you thinking in terms of balancing like Eastern and Western, like what audiences expected?
Well, they see different things. I think a good movie should be a wealth of materials, possibilities, and people just take what they can, what they want. The one thing I had to sacrifice a little bit is that because it's going international, so things has to make sense in subtitle.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you tend to over-explain things a little bit. And also the fighting style is a little different. The Hong Kong style is a lot more dazzling, quicker cut and pace. Because I wanted to do drama, I had to slow it down so feeling were landed. And also that's more of a Western movie, particularly American movie going for. Usually they're slower. So I sort of try to find a balance. So I have the dazzlingness of the genre. And also I had to slow down a little bit. For the Asian audience, they feel, because they, like me, grew up watching it. Some places at the time they feel a little strange. These days it's not a problem, but when the time it came out, it's a little bit strange. Like the first fight didn't happen until 15 minutes into.
Right.
Usually you sit down, the first thing, they show a big fight, and so you know you're in the right theater. And it ends with a fight, so you're satisfied. And my last fight to the end is still like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to go. That's not a climax. So I bend a lot of things. And also, they're supposed to be pretty crappy. That's a genre. That's the genre. People fly, anything happens. You don't care. But I want to do exquisite stuff, like seriousness acting and all that. When you take that real, how do you keep it fly? A lot of things in the genre, a lot of things they say, they behave, wouldn't even exist. So I really struggle with material. But the Western audience actually had an advantage over that because they don't have the baggage. when they just see something fantastic, they totally enjoy it. They bring them to their childhood fantasy and what have you. They're less judgmental. But the symbolism is hard for the Westerners. It came with the culture. Not only green, the use of symbolism, like earth, metal, water, what represent. The Chinese will have different association to that.
There's a really interesting essay by a critic named David Ehrlich who said this isn't a fight movie, this is a dance movie. And the point that he made was, you know, you say, normally you would go to the fight choreographer and say, here's who wins, you have 3 minutes, go. But in this, it seems like who wins isn't as important as like what each fight says about their relationship to each other. So I'm curious whether dance was ever an inspiration, whether dance movies and that kind of choreography went into your thinking at all here.
At heart, martial art films, this is people get messed up. They think martial art film is martial art. Martial art films, they're musicals at heart. They are musical. Instead of feel something, you start to sing and dance. You start to kick the shit out of each other. You kick butt as the ultimate expression. So at heart is actually musical. It also took from the Chinese opera acrobat scenes, which is highly artistic expression of a fight. It's highly choreographed, it's beautified. So that's dance. It's really choreographed. In real fight, it was never like that on martial art. It won't go on and look that good. You're out. The Japanese got it right. You know, look at each other for 3 minutes and it's over. That's why they cannot compete with the Chinese ones. We came out, they cannot compete because we'll go on and on and on. It came from choreography. It's a dance musical number from the opera. So the best choreographers such as Yuan He-ping, they inherited the skill actually from picking up. They're the acrobats. They're not martial artists. And martial artists are actually particularly hard to put them in the martial art films because things has to be this way and that way to make sense. And the choreographer said, no, that looks better. Or this angle is about that they cannot change their habit, the track of way of thinking. So it's actually dance. So the person is actually at a keen observation, not just the way I do it. Everybody do it is like a dance by spirit. And people say, when are you going to do a musical? I say, I've done one. Crouching Tiger was a musical for me.
One of the things I've noticed most about your films is that so many of them come back to these themes of emotional repression and what it does to people to feel something very strongly and hold it back. And I'm curious whether you see that as a link through your films and particularly whether you see that as like particularly important in Crouching Tiger.
Well, my father is the principal of my high school. Next question.
All right, I see what you mean there.
It's not something I keep wanting to elaborate, to express. It's just something I couldn't escape. It's like the flying in the Crouching Tiger. They cannot fly forever. They can fly higher than how people jump, but eventually have to land. So somehow making a movie, there's gravity. When it lands, is always something I struggle with. Again, I have not been able to escape.
So many of your films have like the one scene where people just completely break loose of repression. I mean, here it's when Jen cuts loose in the restaurant and just kicks everybody's butt. But you look like at Brokeback Mountain, that the first sex scene where they finally drop the pretenses, or Hulk, where he finally hulks out.
Hulks out.
There's always some moment of letting go. And I'm curious what those moments mean to you.
Feels great. What else? And then, of course, they always come to a somewhat disappointing point in end. That you realize you cannot live alone by yourself. You have to live with society, the rest of the people. Not only because you have to, you want to. You cannot live by yourself alone. Nobody has total freedom. This is something I don't work for it. It's not I have a goal, I want to make a movie about repression. It's just there. I want to make Hulk and anything Hulk out, Jen just rip up the restaurant. I want to see dramatic conflict and exuberate, each time I'm attracted to something, not because of repression, because I get a chance to explore, so I can have a good time. But as a whole, somehow that melancholy sort of thing would just ooze out. I could not help it. Yeah.
What do you think about? Like, what excites you in a project at this point? What is there anything you can point to where that makes you say that's the next thing I really want to do?
My first two movies, I wrote them. So I will say something I know, I care, and then it get out of my systems. There were family dramas. After that, it's something excites me, something I didn't understand, and I have curiosity, or the unusual combination of two or more than two opponents, gay, cowboy, how does that work? Woman, martial art, the desert and Beijing, just unusual combination of elements that get me excited. But again, this is analyze what I like to do afterwards. But usually something that haunts you, refuse to leave you, and then you just have to deal with it to fulfill your curiosity. In a weird way, philosophy, why we exist. Each period of my time, I care about different philosophical, existential, or metaphorical aspect of life, like why we exist. What was this whole thing about? I might do 2 or 3 movies along the way, and any subject matter hit that core would get my interest. It's very hard to say. I don't sit down and think about what is there, but different material, if it hits it, I will respond to it. And when I feel like I have to do it, I feel there's an ownership I have. Nobody else should do it. I'm the chosen one to do that material. It belongs to me, and I belong to the material. And the world wants to see it that way. And then you just forget about everything else. You just try to make it work with hundreds of people.
So this film's got so much unexpected attention, like at the Oscars in particular, which is something that hadn't really happened before with a foreign film to be recognized on this level. But Oscar films tend to get forgotten. The year later, everybody's moved on.
Next day.
Exactly. But this is a film that still resonates. Like, it still looks beautiful. It still feels revelatory. It's still making new audiences, like new fans. What about it resonates so much, do you think? What about it brings audiences back over and over?
I would guess because at that time, people just about to aware of this hidden thing in Asia. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of potential. I think a year before that, Matrix was out, and then it's Charlie's Angel. People just noticing that it's just about to surface from subculture. And then voila, there's a Crouching Tiger sort of fulfill that expectation. Maybe because we lost some of the innocence of watching a fantastic movie when we're young, and we lost that innocence. We don't believe that anymore. And somehow a foreign language film that come in that's fresh and refreshing and that offer that innocence, that you're willing to be a child again, and they can totally invest their emotion and believe in something silly, fantastic, emotional, and all that stuff without losing their composure. They just cave in.
Fantastic.
I think it's a beautiful thing. That's actually the essence of why we go watch movies. It's that sometimes you have to go far away to find your long-lost innocence.